Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
This is Science for Humans with Dr. Jeff Galini.
Good, Carl. How about you?
Good. Once you start talking, everything clears up, it seems like. I don't know what it is about this connection, but anyway.
Technology, huh?
Yeah, technology. There are days that I hate it. I got to tell you the truth. But we wouldn't be doing this show without it, so I guess I can't hate it too much.
Exactly. So anyhow, we're going to talk about the GI tract and digestive discomfort. You know, one of the things that I think have become just a fact of life for us is just kind of like not getting enough sleep or having too much to do is, we complain all the time about ailments such as occasional gas, bloating, irregularity, and we think that nothing can be done. But,
right.
That's actually wrong. I mean, we can improve our digestive health, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about here in this show.
Well, proton pump inhibitors, I think, are the second or third highest selling pharmaceutical drugs in the world today. And that's because most people have some sort of digestive issue.
Well, absolutely. 7 out of 10 people, FDA says, has a digestive problem. So I wanted to first bring everyone up to speed, because sometimes when we say GI tract, that might not be a familiar term. But that stands for the human gastrointestinal tract, or we call it the GI tract, or sometimes just the GI. And it is the organ system that's responsible for consuming and digesting foodstuff, absorbing nutrients, and expelling waste. Now, this tract consists of the stomach and intestines and is divided into the upper and lower gastrointestinal tracts. However, when you look at a broader spectrum, really, the GI tract includes everything from the mouth to the anus.
Right.
They calculate it at about 30 feet. I mean, that's pretty amazing when you really think about it.
Yeah, very much.
But very important because, again, this is how we digest. This is how all of our nutrients are absorbed. So that's why, I thought it was really important to talk about, what are the symptoms, what are the types of foods that we should eat, we should stay away from, and then, again, suggestions for improving the GI tract. I know we talk about sometimes those bodybuilders with those extended bellies, and everybody's kind of got their own thoughts on that, but really it comes down to GI health, right, Carl?
No, absolutely. And one of the things that we've learned in the past 8 or 9 years now, especially with the discussions that are growing about the microbiome, these microbes that we carry around in our gut, is that when we talk about the immune system, 90% of the immune system is in your GI tract. So
absolutely.
We're talking about the immune system when we talk about the gut as well.
We do, all that good bacteria is found, in those intestines. And, one thing that I found that I hadn't really thought about, but, when we have a sickness, the first thing the doctors give us is antibiotics. And not only does that kill the bad bacteria, but that also kills all the good bacteria that's in our system.
Right.
So important for breaking down and digesting things.
Let's also not forget real quick, just let me inject this. Let's also not forget the chemicals sprayed and put in our foods that have antimicrobial and antibacterial effects that we consume on a day in and day out basis that also disrupt these good and bad bacteria in our stomach.
And that is why, it went from 3 out of 10 people to 7 out of 10 people.
Right.
I think the introduction of the GMOs and the pesticides and things we've been talking about, and the increase in the doctors, prescribing antibiotics. I mean, all those take into play. But some of the symptoms, that are pretty common, heartburn is probably one of the things that's just, if you're listening to the commercials, hey, it's just part of life. Don't let food slap you.
Yeah. I love that. What happens when the foods you love don't love you and the hot dog is slapping the guy in the face? Yeah. My response is don't eat the hot dog.
No kidding. Come on. If it causes you heartburn, your body's telling you something, right?
Right.
If you're in your car and all of a sudden it starts knocking, or that red check engine light comes on, or it starts smoking, don't you do something about it?
Well, better yet, let's expand that analogy. If that only happened every time you filled up with this particular gas station's gas, wouldn't you stop going to that gas station?
Exactly. Huh. Or you wouldn't even buy that car. But anyhow, heartburn.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty common. Everybody knows what heartburn is. Another one is, they call it IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome. Essentially, that causes gas, bloating, loose stools, flatulence. It's becoming a more and more common diagnosis from doctors. Constipation. 95% of the people, constipation is a chronic problem, and lack of exercise, hydration, poor diet, fiber deficiencies, which we're going to talk about, are all benefits. And then there's a couple things that I'll probably pronounce wrong, Carl, because I'm not a doctor, but dyspepsia.
No, yeah, dyspepsia, difficulty swallowing, right? No, that's I'm sorry. That's dysphagia, I think. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's dysphagia. Dyspepsia is a discomfort, burning, pressure in the upper abdomen.
Right.
I know I've had that before, and you almost think you're having a heart attack, but it's really just kind of a burn. Usually if you belch or burp, it kind of goes away. But after time, those acids coming back up, can cause damage. The other one you're talking about is dysphagia, which is the difficulty swallowing, the sensation that you've got, food stuck in the middle of your chest.
And that usually occurs when you've had heartburn and dyspepsia for a long period of time. The erosion of the esophagus starts to occur.
Yep. And the things that, I think are the most common is, just that bloated stomach. I mean, I know I had that, before I started looking into the whole gluten-free and the pesticides. That's a really common problem, and people just deal with it. You take Tums, which again is counterproductive.
Right.
So I guess the good news is those symptoms are irreversible. They're reversible. Sorry. You can reverse them. You can fix those problems. It's only when you let them go on that you could end up with some more serious, type problems. You don't want to have, ulcers, a guy I know actually from heartburn and acid reflux, he burnt his esophagus, and now he's got to take some type of medication just to keep that inflammation down.
Right.
So, and like I said, those
and people should understand what heartburn is. Heartburn is when there is a breach of the esophageal sphincter, the muscle complex at the bottom of the esophagus that keeps the caustic acids and food in your stomach. When that muscle becomes dysfunctional, it's almost like the hatch on a submarine. It starts letting stuff in and out that shouldn't be getting in and out.
Correct. And, if you've ever had that, it's not very comfortable. And if you ever had that, acid come up, it's actually kind of a scary thing, because something from your stomach shouldn't be coming out your mouth.
Right.
But, again, the medical response to this is, medication. And, again, that does mask, that does decrease the acid, but, now we're causing a whole bunch of other problems. There's a much more holistic approach, to improving your digestive health. It's pretty easy.
Do you find, before we go into a break, do you find that these types of problems can exclusively be answered through diet, or do you think that if someone is far enough down that rabbit hole that they have to do other slightly more heroic things?
I would first recommend diet, exercise, which is what we're going to talk about, because I think some of these things, again, we just don't know about. They're part of our American diet. We don't think about it. But, if we can adjust that diet, like I thought, bloating, okay, it's just age. Doctor says, you're just going to have to deal with it. found no, it wasn't. You can reverse those things. So I would recommend, starting with the recommendations of diet and exercise first. And if that doesn't help, then maybe you have, some other ailment that, might need some medical attention.
Okay. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take our break now? When we come back, let's talk about how to take care of the gut and improve GI health and things to stay away from. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay, we're going to take one quick commercial break. You're listening to Science for Humans. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Don't forget, listen for the secret word, because this Friday I'll be in Montana at All American Pharmaceutical. We're going to announce the winner of the secret word contest. The winner will receive 5 autographed copies, the complete series of Legacy of Iron from Brooks Cubic, which is sure to become a collector's item. So don't forget, when you hear the secret word, email it to onair@superhumanradio.com. Listen to the commercial breaks. It pays. Do you know how to properly use carbohydrates to ignite your performance in the field and in the gym? You will now, thanks to this free book by EFX Sports. The Carb User's Guide for Maximum Performance reveals why omitting carbohydrates from your diet can totally crush your gains. Ever wonder how many grams you need for your specific sport? Not anymore. We give you the critical number you need to dominate your competition. You'll even discover the super carb that's taking the athletic world by storm. You must try it to believe it. Go to getcarbolin.com/carb guide today and get your copy absolutely free. Once again, it's GETKARBOLIN.com/CARBGUIDE.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where we use oxygen for the power of good.
Welcome back to Science for Humans with my co-host, Dr. Jeff Galini, and myself, Carl Lenore. We're talking about the gut, GI health. So the next topic is how we can take care or better care of and improve our gut health. So where do we start with that one, Dr. Jeff?
Here's where we start. This is kind of my top 10 list. Is first of all, eat plenty of fruits and vegetables. Fruits are high in fiber, and vegetables and fruits contain a high range of nutrients that are important for digestion. Plenty of fiber. Fiber is really important for not only cardiovascular health, regulating blood sugar levels, but keeping everything moving through your system. Consume adequate protein. Some people who don't have adequate protein, it can affect your GI. It's good to get fish, maybe 3 times a week, high in omega-3s, which really help not only from a cholesterol standpoint, but aiding in that digestion. And then, I always recommend that you try to get your nutrients from your foods first. And what that means is try to eat a balanced diet. And obviously we know that we can't get everything we need. So when you do add a vitamin and mineral supplement, again, make sure it's a high quality one, something from a health food store that you trust the owners, something like VitaDrive by EFX. And then number 5 is limit your fats and your concentrated sweets. Reduce those fried foods and plain sugar. Another very important is to stay hydrated. You need to drink plenty of water. Fluids are essential for healthy digestion. Just kind of a Mayo Clinic recommendation. Everyone asks, well, how much water should I drink? They recommend, again, this is just kind of a basic, but, 8 cups a day, 8 ounces. I know that everyone kind of has a different opinion. And again, it kind of depends on your activity.
Is it 8 ounce glasses a day?
That's what they recommend. 8 times 8 ounce glasses a day.
Right. So 64.
And that's just kind of,
that's about a half, people don't realize that's a half a gallon.
That is, it's a good amount. It'll keep things moving. But I know people that hardly drink any water.
And then the flip side is the environment that you come from and that I come from and the audience comes from. Most of us carry a gallon of water a day, and our goal is to drink the whole thing in a day.
Yeah, and again, for us who are more active, this is just kind of a guideline. It's kind of like the % daily value. It really depends on, again, you personally. The other thing is eat mindfully. eat slow. We as Americans, we're always rushing. We eat fast. And when you're full, stop eating. Kind of a good little idea. Keep moving. When you're tired, the best thing to do is to exercise. Exercise is one of the best things to keep your body running effectively. It's great for your digestion, helps you to maintain a healthy body weight, which is really important for digestive health. Here's a hard one, Carl. Stay calm. We got to learn how to manage our stress, and I'm as guilty as as the next person. But the suggestion is try to do something relaxing each day. Going to the gym is good for me, on that one.
Absolutely.
And then pay attention to your body, as we were talking about. Bloating, heartburn. Your body is telling you something is wrong, and just by listening to your body, you'll be able to make some calculated determination that you've got to do some research. You've got to fix something, make some change. But the majority of the time, if you make some changes to your diet, these symptoms will go away.
You know what one of the greatest contributors to heartburn is?
What's that?
Caffeine. So caffeine causes a change in the muscle response of the esophageal sphincter and makes it loosen up. So basically makes it leak. And the more caffeine you drink, if you're one of those people who has to have, a whole cup of coffee, a pot of coffee every day, or you stop at Starbucks a half a dozen times, and you also suffer from heartburn, GERD, or silent GERD, the first thing you need to do is cut caffeine out of your diet. Research has shown that people who have GERD, when they cut caffeine out of their diet entirely, the GERD almost always goes away within a couple months.
Absolutely, and that moves into my worst foods for your digestion. And at the top of the list is, coffees, teas, soft drinks that contain either carbonation or caffeine, like you said. It relaxes the esophageal sphincter. Not good for you. As we were talking about, high-fat foods, fried foods, those things you want to try to minimize. They do overwhelm the stomach and result in acid reflux and heartburn. And if you do experience heartburn, again, as the commercials say, but, chili powder, spicy foods, for some people, that is just a problem. And you know what? Just adjust your diet a little bit. You don't have to have things as spicy. Alcohol is another one that actually relaxes the body, but it also relaxes the esophageal sphincter, similar to caffeine.
Right.
If you have some problems with dairy, that's a lactose intolerant. Remember that dairy is in a lot of things. It's not just milk, chocolate, most all baked goods, breads, all those things contain dairy. Now, the good thing is you can either eliminate that from your diet, or you can add the digestive enzyme lactase that will help you digest that. And here's probably one of the real important ones besides the caffeine. But we eat a lot of corn in America, and our bodies are lacking the enzyme to break down that cellulose in corn in its whole. So, what is recommended if you do eat corn, make sure you thoroughly chew it. If it's fine enough, then our bodies can digest it. But if you ever notice you eat corn, you eat it too fast, you will see whole corn at the backside. That's because you just cannot digest it in its full form.
That really is amazing. People probably don't put much thought into that when they see a corn kernel coming out the other end. But think about it. Just went through the entire digestive process that will digest a pound of beef, but it can't digest that little kernel of corn. What does that tell you about corn?
Yeah, that's very interesting, and I've read some research that, maybe our evolutionary ancestors, who had bigger and stronger teeth, were able to digest that more effectively, but, us with, we don't chew food.
But let's take it just one step further. So you talk about evolution, but now let's talk about forward evolution. So there's a type of corn out there called BT corn developed by Monsanto, which is designed to kill the corn borer. It's genetically modified to have its own insecticide built into it. The insecticide works by destroying the gut of the corn borer. They are now finding BT endotoxins in newborn babies, which means that it's getting through the placenta. It's getting into the baby. It's getting through the barriers that are created to keep the baby protected. And we are now understanding that BT corn in and of itself can destroy the lining of the stomach of humans if eaten with great enough amounts and great enough frequency.
Yeah, and that's just, that's just outright ridiculous. I mean, when you really think about it. Now, here's some of the good foods, that, again, kind of help with the GI. Yogurt. Again, it has that good bacteria. If you're finding that, you have had disruptive GI and you've got a lot of these symptoms, I'd recommend a good probiotic. And again, get one from a health food store where it's been kept in the refrigeration.
Right.
Because to get the maximum amount, you've got to keep that refrigerated. Cabbage is one I didn't know about, but cabbage actually promotes healthy bacteria in the colon. So, eat some cabbage.
Because of something called prebiotic fiber that cabbage, artichokes, leeks, onions, and garlic all have in it.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. So I'm definitely going to start to add some of those to my diet. And we talked about, lean meats, fish, whole grains, again, good source of fiber, oatmeal, brown rice. Those all aid in digestions. Bananas actually help restore normal bowel function. And then some of the symptoms, a lot of times people get motion sickness, loss of appetite, gas, colic. Ginger is a good spice that's been used for thousands of years to kind of relieve all those type of things. So those are just kind of some suggestions. I always recommend, organic when possible, as we've been talking about, the pesticides and things that are in the normal foods. At least with organic, you are minimizing those amounts because all of that stuff aids in killing that good bacteria.
So, and obviously paying attention to gluten, which is something that you found out yourself just through a self-experimentation, right?
It is, and I think, we've talked about it a few times, but I think we're going to do a whole nother show because the more I learn about, this gluten and, about these pesticides, the more I seem to be excited talking about it. But absolutely, gluten does disrupt the digestion. So again, that might be the first thing I would tell people to take a look at. But, Carl, I've talked to a lot of people who have those symptoms, and when you mention gluten, it's like you said a bad word. They go, it's impossible to get off gluten.
Yeah, it's impossible, and that's the problem. I was just thinking of something. I was thinking, I wonder how many people are going to hear this show and realize, a certain food, wow, when I eat that food, that is when I get heartburn. And how many of them will actually say, I'm not going to eat that food anymore? I have to believe that the large majority of Americans will not act in their own best self-interest when they discover something is no good for them because they enjoy eating it. And that's a sad, sad thing because that's no different than being a drug addict addicted to cigarettes or whatever. You're eating a food that causes your GI tract to be disrupted, causes heartburn, esophageal erosion leads to esophageal cancer if left alone long. But how many people do you think will actually go, wow, you know what? He's right. When I eat corn, I get heartburn. I'm just going to stop eating corn. How many people think you really do that?
I would probably say 50%, just because of, a lot of the questions and emails I get from people who do appreciate the information. But again, I think you got to listen to your body. One of the things athletics has taught athletes is we listen to our body. We want to live longer and be healthier. These little symptoms is your body's way of saying, hey, you're overheated. Hey, you need an oil change. Hey, you're almost out of gas.
Right.
So you gotta make changes. And of course, the older we get, you just can't eat the same things as you can when you were younger. Part of GI is people who are overweight have terrible GI tract, and most of these problems are sometimes what causes them to get to that level. If you just can't absorb things, it's going to be stored as fat.
Here's a perfect example of the accuracy of what you just said. They just discovered that if they give cows a certain thing that blocks a certain bacteria in their stomach from making methane, which is cow flatulence, right? They're trying to control cow flatulence. So they found a way to arrest specific microbes in the gut microbiota of cows, and then they don't have gas anymore. But guess what a byproduct of it is, Dr. Jeff?
What's that?
The cows got fatter and fatter faster, so it's a boon. They're like, oh my God, not only will we get rid of cow farts, but we're going to have cows getting fatter faster. And everybody think that's amazing. And then I think, wait a minute, look at all the number of Americans who have disrupted gut problems and dysbioses of the microbes in their gut. And they say, I can't lose weight no matter what I do. They may not be lying. It could be that the disruption in those microbes is leading to building more fat.
And I do agree, because most people who are overweight, they don't eat very much and they do exercise. There's more to this whole bacteria thing that meets the eye. And we're going to talk more about it. Because again, from the medical side, they don't want to talk about this kind of thing, because most of the stuff that drugs do are killing this. And as we talked about, from our food sources. So we're going to bring more of this into our listeners' attention here over the next couple weeks.
And then I'll be arriving in Montana tomorrow.
Yeah, excited, man. Well, I can't believe another quarter, huh?
I know. Time goes so fast, doesn't it?
It does. So I'm going to have some good organic food. We're going to stay away from whole corn.
Yes, we're going to eat a lot of beef, because Montana is known for some of the best beef. I eat steak, breakfast, lunch, and dinner there.
And I'm going to take you over this little bakery that's right down the street that everything is gluten-free and organic.
Oh, I got to check that out. Definitely.
Yes.
Okay. And then we'll be doing our live remote on Friday, and we'll be announcing the winner of the Secret Word contest this week as well.
Sounds good.
See you soon, brother.
Thank you. Take care.